Right, this is of what is shadow of patio furniture. The patio furniture on the opposite side of the patio. This is speaking to horizontally aimed engineered light that's appearing underneath a covered structure. And this is also evidence of what is not the natural sun, as I'm documenting it remaining for the duration of the day. Again, on yet another day, where I just documented on the podcast, which you will hear. It's currently 4:51 p.m. I'm documenting what was hours 2:42 p.m. until the present. The entity is engaged in a pattern of psychological torture, which I documented through what is the document entitled WSA-The People. This is impossible light activity that is appearing also. I want you to see if you can see this. This is engineer light. You can see this. It's streaming on the floor in this direction. This is the same light activity you can see here. This light activity is streaming into the depths, and you can see it more clearly on the carpet here. That's impossible light activity. And this is also impossible light activity, as you're seeing the shadow of furniture that's on the opposite side of the patio. That's speaking to light that's shooting in this direction, straight horizontally, in other words, and the sun that has sunlight that's coming downward. And that's speaking to a fake sun that is necessarily in alignment to me. And this is also not the product of sunlight. This is where the entity engaged in hours of documented psychological torture, doing so with impunity as I am documenting it. This is impossible light that's coming through a peephole, having nothing to do with sunlight. Neither does this. This has nothing to do with sunlight. And the sun would not be in the same position. This is where you're looking at a pattern of stalkers. This is what the demon that was gang stalked with the Ontario police. This is what the demon is doing with the Mazda. The MARMMAK is the Arizona license plate while they're stalking. They're doing so under a fake sun. That is, again, this is where it was at 11:40 in the morning. This is non-movement. And this is the patio furniture that's appearing. The shadow of it is appearing. That's speaking to the fake sun and engineer light that's being shot at me. That's called stalking in the path while the elderly get in and out of vehicles, while the entity comes onto the grounds. This is the prosecution of, again, the chairman, Daryl Carter, the chairman and CEO of the corrupt company, AVANATH Capital Management, that is engaged in domestic terrorism, and they're profiting while they are engaged in real estate. This is impossible. That's also appearing on the door. Light is shooting on the inside of the apartment, creating the shadow of this furniture onto this glass door. It's also reflecting off of the glass door appearing over there. This is the P.O.C. of recognizing what is. And this fake sun is in the same position where it was when I walk out into the parking lot and the Ontario police fly over my head. And then it advances to be back right over this building where I documented at 8:40 in the morning, at 10:40 in the morning yesterday afternoon, at 11:40 this morning, and what is right now, what is 4:53 p.m. when it's literally in the same outside of the same patio glass door, and I'm showing you the light source where the entity is stalking as a population. This is where you have hours of psychological torture by the demons that live at the venue. So the ground's engaging in just that, stalking in the path while amplified audible activity sounds. This is not sunlight. This is engineer light. This is also engineer light on the building over here. This is engineer light on the. That's P.O.C. That's not sunlight. And none of this will occur with regard to the sun being over the Alvarado Gardens in Los Angeles, which is what I've documented. Okay, so this is identifying stalking by a community. All right, and doing so with impunity. As you're looking at the engineer light, that's P.O.C. And you have, again, license MARMMAK, the demon that's living in unit number 42, the African American that was gang stalking with the Ontario police today, engaging in the same pattern of stalking in the path with light, 9FYK536. This is also documentation of impunity. The entity that is engaged in what is ongoing psychological torture, doing so with the police that are gang stalking as a community, and they're doing so while they know that they're being documented. So the entity is acting with impunity, then that is relevant to what is federal prison. All right, the entity is doing so on an ongoing basis and is doing so in violation of the Violence Against Women Act as well. The entity is doing so on a cyclical basis with the entity that is gang stalking unit number 55. This is all engineer light. You can see there's light that's appearing. My shadow's appearing over here. That's not sunlight. They're all stalking, and this is the shadow that's appearing horizontally. That's speaking to the fake sun, and that's all impossible light as well. For the maintenance of engineer light is speaking to stalking and activity creation and knowledge about what you're doing inside of a private space. This is the same light activity at nightfall when the entity is gang stalking me by helicopters, and you'll see me doing this on the same apartment where the demons in Unit 52 are going to prison. It's currently, again, 4:55 p.m. Okay, this is video evidence to coincide with the podcast documentation that I captured, denoting AVANATH Capital Management's engagement in psychological torture and stalking as a corrupt business with the government, providing a basis to do so. And you're looking at that pattern of stalking in the past with a fake son and the ongoing amplified audible activity while they are engaging in that pattern of conduct, and to do so while you're documenting the state government and they engage in this sort of conduct as a population. That's impunity and malice, and that's relevant to time in federal prison, and that's exactly what they're going to be prosecuted for when they're in federal court. All right, it's not individualized crime, it's the crime of the entity. The entity on this day does not care about going to federal prison. When they're in court and they're being sentenced to prolonged terms of federal prison, this is the evidence that you're going to recall. It is currently, again, 4:56 p.m., and that's within a pattern of conduct while Engineer Light, which is not the product of Sun, where the Sun would not be at the same apartment building. It's never in Los Angeles at Alvarado Gardens, which is what I documented this time of year when I'm staying in Los Angeles and living in Los Angeles. All right, the two are not happening at the same time, and neither are actually occurring in the natural environment because the sun is not rising and setting at the same address. This is P.O.C. It's 4:56 p.m.